Larry Emdur, welcome to Straight Talk, mate. About bloody time.
Yeah, good to see you, Mark.
We've been talking about this for ages. And by the way, we both got our whiskey. Where's yours?
Yeah, here.
You hold mine, I'll hold yours.
All right, yeah.
So this is the Ben Buckler. This is Larry's answer to the bird. Like, he heard I was doing the bird.
Oh, yeah.
And he couldn't handle it, so he went off and produced his own whiskey. Actually, it's a good drop, the Ben Buckler. You should get this.
And this is the bird, but you still should get the Ben Buckler. Like, that's the bird. But
that's not fair. Hang on.
No, this is a good one. And in fact, you know how this is really good? Because it's a work day. Look at that.
I've already had some.
It's already had some.
And we'll have
this looks great, mate. Congratulations on this, by the way.
Same here, mate. Well done. We'll have a taste in a moment. We should have a little taste. I mean, I hope you don't mind us cracking that one open.
No.
So, mate, I need to go. Well, I think our audience would love to go back and hear a little bit about. You know, it's really good for a start. I'm on this side of the microphone, and you're on that side. of the microphone.
Yeah. This is
normally it's around the other way.
This is strange for me.
Normally you're asking about something on 7, but so it's a great opportunity for me just to dig a little bit. I know a lot of blokes that you're friendly with in these suburbs. We've got a lot of mates, mutual friends, but I've never really known your background. Like, where'd you grow up? Brothers and sisters. I know you got one sister.
Two sisters.
Okay,
Yeah.
I knew you. I should have said that. Should have at least said, I know you have at least one sister because her name's Martine.
That's right.
And I've got one of her paintings in my home.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, and I bought it from Tim Olsen.
Right.
Did Tim represent your sister?
Yes, for
at
a
one
time.
stage? Yeah.
Yes.
So Tim being an East Suburbs guy, but tell me about your family and growing up.
Grew up at Bondi. In
Yep.
fact, grew up at Ben Buckler, which is North Bondi. So there
Yep.
are 3 streets on the Ben Buckler Peninsula, which is the North Bondi headland.
Yep.
And I grew up in all them. Hastings Parade, Brighton Boulevard, Ramsgate Avenue. And I grew up as a surfer. I'd be surfing with a bunch of your old mates before school and after school, and a lot of times during school. I remember all our afternoons after school, be mum and dad down on the beach eating fish and chips, and my sisters and I splashing around in the surf. And I remember Dad teaching me how to surf by pushing me around the North Bondi pool, the kids' pool. So all my childhood, and in fact, probably till I was 30 years old, all revolves around a place called Ben Buckler. And that was it. School, I was terrible. I was very, very bad at school. Kicked out of school very early.
Well, can I just talk about Ben Buckler for a second? Like, most people don't realise, everyone would be thinking Bondi, rich. How many years have we going back now?
Well, I'm 61 now.
Yep.
About to be 61. So we're talking, what, 50
odd years ago. So 50 years ago in the 70s, Bondi was not like it is today.
No.
It's a different joint. Totally.
100%. It was very, think of your little mid-North Coast town almost.
Yeah.
You know, like everyone knew each other. There was none of that coffee culture. There was none of that bar culture. There was 2 pubs, the Astra and the Bondi.
Yep.
You would never go out for a coffee or anything like that. You'd go out once a week for maybe a pizza or fish and chips, and that was it. But it was ramshackled. The awnings, if you can imagine, you've been along Campbell Parade lately, it's all kind of new and there's new shops. And
Flash.
The awnings were rusty and falling down everywhere. You park wherever you want. It would take me 2 hours to walk along the beach in the afternoon because hi, and what you up to? And it was real community spirit, and that's long gone for Bondi, unfortunately. But it's very much a different place now.
You know, my very first wedding, I got married at a place called the Orchides.
Hey, okay.
Do you remember the place, the up on the top of the Ben Buckler there?
Yes. So my bachelor pad, which we still have, is now is the unit immediately above that.
Yeah, so they developed it because there wasn't anything above it when I got married there. I just seem to recall it was just like a centre where you go and hire. I'll tell you how long ago it is. That is 50, actually nearly exactly 50 years ago.
Yeah,
I got married there, and I can't remember the name of the family that owned the Orchides, but it was a local bloke, and Orchides was it was one of those joints you hired to have a wedding reception or whatever sort of thing you want to have there. Yeah. But was there? I don't think there was anything above there. I can't remember.
right next door, right next to it.
Yeah.
So my place where I grew up, when I eventually moved out of home, and Sylvie and I were going out, we got this place, and when Jai was born, so it's the apartment block directly next to it.
Yeah, I know.
And so we would look over
a good spot,
a great spot,
and in those days, though, if you're looking south. It wasn't considered as good as looking north. But I'd look north around there, but looking south. And Bondi was never like, it's not like it is today. It was never considered great. It wasn't until they started to develop those things down the south end, where the old Bondi Terraces and Tower is.
Yeah.
which was developed by Kerry Packer.
That's right.
Back in the early 80s, late 70s. I remember he built all those terraces there. And actually, James moved in, and Ginge moved in
That's
too.
right.
With James. They moved in across
They
there.
would regularly tell me, whenever I saw them, they'd remind me that they had because I was a bachelor over in the northern point, and they'd had a telescope trained on my balcony because they reckon there was more fun being had on my balcony than theirs. So we're directly across the beach.
Yeah, and great days those days. I mean, did you go to school? Where'd you go to school around the area?
Dover Heights Boys High School, which is no longer there, but up the road. And it was, but I rarely went. I rarely went to school.
You're surfing all the time.
Surfing all the time. And that's all I wanted to do. And school was pretty loose then too. I don't imagine you get away with that now, but I'd go to school, we'd do the roll call, I'd run back down the hill and go surfing. Or I'd stay at the bus stop, watch my parents drive off to work, wave them goodbye, run back home, get my surfboard and go surfing.
And mum and dad, what were they doing? What was dad doing?
Dad was a salesman, essentially. So he'd go from company to company setting up different sales teams. So he was in a new thing every other year. And very, pretty good at it from what I gather. And then mum was doing bits and pieces. She was managing a shopping centre at Newtown at one point. Then she was a welfare worker at the jail at another point. So they were busy. They were doing different things all the time.
So working class kid.
100%.
Yeah. And which was typical of those days in Bondi. That was a working class area.
Mm.
Your sister's younger or older than you?
Both. So I have an older sister, Nicole. Yeah. She's the brains of the family. She's the psychologist. And then the younger sister, Martine, who's the now famous artist.
Now, actually famous.
Yeah.
At least in Australia anyway.
No, very, very successful. Oh, she sells stuff overseas.
Does she?
Well.
Right.
And it's a wonderful story, and I love telling people about it because if they're interested in the Bondi sort of concept, the origin story, Martine started by doing chalkboards for restaurants, cafes around Bondi. And she draws seagulls and dolphins and waves and things. But they were beautiful. So they just went from being menu chalkboards to being art. And we all convinced her to do a show, do some paintings and do a show at the Bondi Pavilion. And her first paintings were $200 and $300. And they're now, as you know,
much more expensive than that.
But there were some terrific ones, chalkboards around Bondi, where once she became famous, these little coffee shops and restaurants, the Bondi Trattoria, for instance, had a Martine Emdur mural chalkboard. And they never wanted to change the price of the coffee because it was a Martine Emdur. So the coffee around a few places in Bondi stayed the same because they didn't. Now Martine's becoming famous. They've got a Martine Emdur chalkboard menu, and they kept that.
Wow,
so it's quite funny.
I remember sitting at the Tropicana some years ago, and I was there with Ginge, David Ginge, and this is no secret, so I don't mind saying it. And Ginge was there with a pair of long tracksuit pants on, no shoes. Those days he had a big beard and grey hair, and he had a crappy old t-shirt. We'd just been to the gym or something. I can't remember what it was, but he had no shoes, and that's all I remember. And that's the day him and James got into the punch shop outside James's house. Yeah. I remember there being in the Trat. He was very cranky, and I remember saying, and I said, mate, I'm just going to go home, forget about it. Next thing I know, he's ringing me up on the telephone, and he said, I just got in a punch up. And I thought, great. But Bondi and Larry Emdur, I reckon, are synonymous. Most people don't know that. Between the two of you, Bondi and you are very, very close. And to your sister as well.
Yeah.
When we talk about Martine used to paint images of mostly women, I think they were, in the water.
Yes.
Under the water.
Yeah.
You could, and I actually, first time I saw it, I thought it was a photograph.
Yes. And that's the amazing thing that she does. And no one can work out how she does it. It's so beautiful that the light making its way through the water and reflecting and
on
refracting,
their body.
And it's just amazing. And so whenever I post anything like that, people are like, "Oh, great photograph!" No, it's a painting.
And was that inspired by the Bondi life?
100%. Oh, absolutely. All her first paintings, many of which I have, actually. I'm really lucky because in the early days, if something didn't sell, now everything sells all the time, but if something didn't sell, because she lived in a small apartment, she'd be like, okay, I've got this extra painting now and I've got nowhere to hang it. I'm like, Marty, it's okay. I'll mind that for you. So now I have this beautiful retro collection of her progression in her artwork, which is spectacular. So it started in the cliffs looking down towards the ocean, breaking over the rocks. Then it moved down to sort of sea level, just above the kids' pool and the rock pool. And now it's underwater. So the progression is quite beautiful. And I've got all these paintings in line.
Lucky you, mate.
Yeah, very lucky.
I mean, and by the way, we will find out how canny this guy is when it comes to business. But he's pretty good at this stuff. Huh. So let's just go back a little bit. You at Dover Heights didn't finish school. Or you did finish school?
No, kicked out of school.
What year we're talking about?
I was 16 years old, so
year 10 or something like that.
End of year 10.
And then how did you get into the journalism or the television game?
Yeah. How long we got? So I wanted to be a surfer. That's all I wanted to do. I was surfing every minute of every day that I possibly could. And one of my mates, so I wanted to leave school. Back then, as you'll remember, it was okay. If you had a job, it was okay. You gave me a tradie, a chippy, or an electrician or whatever. So if you had a job, if you get an apprenticeship, it was okay to leave school at 16. I don't think it's different now.
Yeah.
So I wanted to just any job would do. A mate of mine was a garbo, and he'd start work at 4 a.m. and finish at 9:30 in the morning. I thought, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
Because he just surfed all day. And I thought, that's perfect.
You're running around getting fit.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I actually came very, very close to becoming a garbo. And then this job came up as a copy boy at the Sun News, what was then the Sun newspaper, and it was working overnight. And I thought, so I can work at 10 o'clock at night, finish at 5:30 in the morning, and go surfing all day. I'll take that job. And that's the one I pursued. I got that. I mean, it was nothing. I think it was $70 an hour, my first paycheck. $70 a week.
A week.
$2 an hour, under $2 an hour.
Wow.
But it was my first job. I was earning money and I could surf all day. So that was perfect. And
what is a copy boy, by the way?
Sorry?
What was a copy boy?
Shit kicker.
Yeah, do nothing.
Absolute shit kicker.
Just do whatever you're told.
Clean out ashtrays, pick up old coffee cups. A journalist at 4 a.m. say, go get me a fucking bacon egg roll, and you'd run down to the central train station coffee shop and get a bacon egg roll. And then when they were writing stories, that was in triplicate then. So they'd yell out copy, and the copy boys would run over and grab the copy, the story, one for the editor, one for the chief of staff, I think, then one for the print room. So you're just running around in circles all day. But emptying ashtrays was the big one.
And then where'd you go from there, from the Sun?
So I was working overnight. It was pretty boring, actually. There was no internet. There was no nothing. You're just sitting there waiting for the police radios to go, there's a fire or car chase or something. And one of the journalists came in and said, don't you live in Bondi? I said, yeah. He said, look, here's a story I've just done about Bondi crime. You should rewrite that for your local newspaper, because that's what kids in that space were doing to try and start out as journalists. But I didn't want to be a journalist. I just wanted to surf. But he gave me this story on crime, so I rewrote it. I was bored. I stole it, essentially. And when I was coming home, I went to the Bondi Spectator, 6 o'clock in the morning, in an envelope, slid it under the door. Dear editor, I'm interested in getting into journalism. Could you please let me know your thoughts on this? Right, that was on maybe a Monday. Then on the Thursday, because I've been working overnight, Mum came in, woke me up 2 or 3 in the afternoon. Said, is this you? And it was page 3 of the Bondi Spectator, Bondi Crime Plague by Larry Edmure. So he'd gone to print, he'd printed it.
Good on you.
I did that for a year. Every week I slipped a story under that guy's door. I never met the guy. I never spoke to him because I didn't want him to see that I'm a kid. And every week I'd steal some story or another from Sydney Morning Herald or The Sun and write these Bondi-based stories. And because the Bondi Spectator at the time didn't have any journalists per se or police roundsmen, they would use my stories. So for a year I was omnipresent in this newspaper without knowing the guy or meeting him. I was a pimply-faced kid with long hair. Like, I didn't want to see him. But then that gave me a scrapbook. And then I went out to the Channel 7 newsroom one day, full of beans, and went, look, I'm a journalist. I got the scrapbook from the Bondi Spectator.
Where'd you get that hustle from? That's a hustler.
Yeah, I think what had happened, the Sun newspaper and Channel 7 were aligned, and there was some TV journalists in the Sun newspaper. It was their city office, and I'd seen what they were doing. They're kind of cool, and they were in cool suits, and they're on TV. And so I'm like, oh, maybe I can do some work experience there or something.
Were you just looking for work experience? Or
At the first instance, absolutely. Absolutely.
That's a big hustle, though. That's I mean,
I got lucky. I got lucky.
Yeah.
One day changed my life. One day.
Yeah, I was going to say one day changed your life, but like the decision to, was it just a random decision? You just thought, I'll give it a crack.
Well, I'd been doing the copy boy stuff for a while, and I thought, now what's next? And I'd probably grown up a bit from when I was like, I want to be a garbo and just want to surf all day. Like, I'm like, okay, how do I make money? And this is fun, and who's doing good things in this space? So I conned them into, I suppose, taking me on as a work experience kid. And then that first day changed my life. And it was incredibly lucky from start to finish. And if it went any other way, I would have gone back to doing nothing with my life. But it made me a TV reporter.
Like a sliding door moment.
100%. You remember Ricky May?
Yeah, I do remember. The musician.
Yeah.
The jazz singer.
So Ricky May.
I loved him.
He was amazing. Everyone loved him.
Yeah.
So
Supper Club.
Yeah. So everyone who doesn't remember him, he was this huge New Zealander guy with this massive heart, and he'd be on every show. He'd be on every variety show, every morning show, every night show, and everyone loved him, right? And he was performing at the Wayside Chapel and for day before Christmas Eve lunch. And I was to go in there. The chief of staff sent me out with the crew as a work experience kid to carry the tripod.
This is at 7 or something?
Yeah.
At 7, right.
So I've gone in for my first day before Christmas. Part of my hustle going, look, I know there's not a lot of people around. Can I just come in and hang out? Right?
Was it your idea or the editors?
No, it was my idea. I went out, said, have you got anything coming up? He said, there's nothing coming up. And I said, surely over Christmas I can help do something. So I'm now going into town with a crew to the Wayside Chapel, just down the road, and for a concert for homeless men, and they get their free lunch, and Ricky May sings for them. I got out of the car. I'm just carrying the tripod. I'm wearing my dad's jacket and skinny leather tie that I bought from Paddington Markets up the road here. And Ricky May looked at me across the room and, mate, I can't tell you why to this day this happened. He looked at me and he's gone, he walked straight over to me, straight across past all these homeless guys, straight up to me and said, you don't know, you look like you don't know what you're doing. And I was like, what? I don't. He said, look, follow me. I'll tell you when to film. I'll tell you what's coming up. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. And I said that to the cameraman. Cameron goes, yeah, sounds good to me. So he followed Ricky and he goes, film this guy. This guy's got a really good singer. So Ricky had put his arm around this homeless guy, no teeth, scraggy hair, and they'd sing a Christmas carol. And this beautiful story happened in front of me under Ricky's direction.
Wow.
I was the work experience kid carrying the tripod, right? And then we got back to the studio and the editor was putting it together. It was meant to be just a little story at the end of the news. The editor was putting it together and said to the news producer, this is a great story. There's everything in there you want. There's Ricky laughing and crying and the guys laughing and crying and everyone singing to Ricky. And so the news producer said to me, did you do a stand-up, which is the thing you do at the end with you put your face on the telly? And the cameraman had got me to do that just as work experience, just for fun. And so I had done one. And the news producer said, put this together for us as a story. So my first day at work experience,
wow,
and now I'm on 7 nightly news as a reporter. It was quite bizarre. And it was completely because of Ricky. Like that wouldn't have happened if I was just on another job doing something else.
But okay, well, if you just stop there for a second, when I think about what it'd be 19, 20 or something like 19 years of age, 20 years of age, these sliding door moments, I often wonder to myself, are they created by the individual but unknowingly, or are they just like a matter of luck or destiny? And what have you ever thought to yourself, how did I get to the Spectator in the beginning, Bondi Spectator, and put my story in? How did I meet someone who said to me, look, here's a story, go make it a Bondi, write it up as a Bondi story? Do you ever thought to yourself, also, how was I the guy that they put the book together with all the stories in it? How did I get to meet Ricky May? Why did Ricky May pull me out and say, come on, I'll show you what to do? Do you ever think about that?
All the time. All the time, because I have no...
What do you think it is?
I have no qualifications. I have no right to be sitting here with you, having spent 40 years relatively successfully in television. There's been some bombs as well, believe me. But I look back on my entire career and go, that's either fate, it's a chain of happy accidents, but at no point have I been able to stand in front of anyone and go, I'm qualified and I'm good for this job. Like at no point. So I think back to the Ricky May days, certainly, and it was one thing after the other. And you're right. And the Bondi Spectator was a great example. And then what happened next was a good example. And it just went on and on. And I feel very lucky, like blessed. I know it's cliche to say that, but in a business that chews people up and spits them out pretty quick.
Because you've been in it for a long time now.
42 years now.
Not many people last that long.
No.
I'm serious.
There's been some bombs. And in fact, adding to what you're saying is that there's been plenty of times where I probably should have been gone. I've done some shit shows, Mark, like some horrible shows, some of the worst shows on TV, and that should have been me gone, living up in the Byron.
But it's not your fault that the format was no good. And a lot of times they say, the format's shit, because I remember with The Apprentice, format ended up becoming old and tired. I took the view it wasn't me that had got cut. Formats die off. Sometimes formats are no good in the beginning. But if they get a new format, they're looking for talent.
Yeah.
So you must have been good talent. Do you think,
sure, someone saw something in there somewhere.
There must have been something there, maybe the way you walk. I mean, Ricky May noticed something when you're a young kid. There must be something about innocence in your face, or something in the way you approach, or something about you. Do you think that ever about yourself? And is that
I think
who Larry is?
Of late, I wrote a book, and I thought, I'm going to write this book to try and work out why I'm here. Answer exactly the questions you're talking about. Why the hell am I here? Like the kid who actually, if he turned left instead of right, would have been a garbo.
Yeah.
And I couldn't answer the question, but I did think that I've been a reasonable human being. I did think that in an industry that can breed assholes.
Yeah.
And that's generalizing, but I think I've been a reasonable human being, and particularly when the shit's hitting the fan. And I think that's been an important part of my play. That, when you get axed after 2 weeks, to walk up to the executive producer and go, this is crap.
Yeah.
And I've never played that game, and I've always been very grateful for all those opportunities.
Have you always been a 7?
No.
So just talk about where you moved from.
Started at 7 News for a couple of years.
Yep. So this, by way of example, the Wayside Chapel.
Yep. So it was day one.
Day one.
A couple of years then at 7 News, and then I started to do I was a young news reporter, and what young news reporters would suffer back in the day is that you'd get to do all the shit stories that the older news reporters didn't want to do. So you'd be doing the death knocks. You'd be going to fatal car accidents and fatal fires. The death knocks are a horrible thing when you go in.
What's a death knock?
So kid gets killed by a train, King's Cross, and the Chief of Staff sends you, you're on at 6 in the morning. Chief of Staff says, go out to his house in the Blue Mountains, knock on his mum's door and ask her how she feels.
Well,
death knock. And often, you're either before or minutes after the police. It's horrible. And I was a kid. Right. So I was doing these heavy news things, and there was one, I saw people being shot. I was first on the scene. We were first on the scene at a triple fatal car accident on the Pacific Highway. Because traffic was banked up either side, we were in the chopper and we landed right next to the scene. So we were there before ambulances and police who were caught in the traffic. And this stuff, I was a kid, Mark, and it was screwing me up. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was sad and I was angry, and that's not who I was. So I started to lean towards the lighter side of stuff. At the end of the news, there's always that little kicker where they say, coming up, the new penguin at the Taronga Zoo. I'm like, I'll do it, because I wanted to do that stuff, Mark, that made people smile at the end of the news. I didn't want to do the stuff that broke people's hearts and made people cry and made people upset. I wanted to be the fun guy at the end of the news. So I made that my round. Fun stories, the lighter side. And then, so someone at Channel 10 saw that. There was an opening at a show then called Good Morning Australia with Kerry-Anne Kennelly.
Yep.
And it was for someone to do those stories, but feature stories. So travel around the world doing fun magazine, TV style stories. And that's where I went then.
Do you think it, because I think what you're sort of saying is that in journalism, like especially television, you can have these investigative journalists like you might have at ACA, or you can have these people who are more, as you say, more on the lighter side. Is that a reflection of your personality?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have lived with the other guys. Sorry. Of course I could have. I was very unhappy reporting on those stories. I remember the death knock that I did where I thought, I hate this job. And I loved the job, but I hated that part of the job. And I could see that as the young guy, the young Turk in the business, you that was your lot, right? You were doing the things that all the older journalists were going, I'm not going to do a death knock anymore. And I remember the one, and it was a mother out in the Blue Mountains, and we got there before the police, and I was knocking on her door saying, how do you feel about your son being killed by a train? And she didn't, that was the first she'd heard of it. And it was,
oh my God, she didn't know? No. Oh my God, no. That'd knock anybody. Like,
so it was just like, and I didn't know how to process that. I was 18, 19 years old. I didn't know how to process it. And then I started doing these fun stories. I go, that's me. I'm that guy. I'm the light-hearted, fun-loving, wacky guy. And there's a place for that in TV. And I've made it my home in a televisual sense.
Yeah, just Kerry-Anne Kennelly, one of my favorites. Hello, Cac, how you going? What was that like working with Kerry-Anne?
Oh, fantastic! She was an icon,
and well, still is a legend. Of television.
Yeah. No, it was fantastic, and it was back in the day of there were junkets, and they see things with now Zoom and all this sort of stuff. You're not flying to Hollywood anymore to interview big stars, or rarely. But back then it was a thing. So we'd do lots of different things like that. I'd get to travel all the time, do great stories, and I loved my time in that. And that was for 2 years. Who
are some of the people that you've worked with, like who are the legends of telly? I mean, we just mentioned Kerry-Anne Kennelly. Who else have you been with?
I've worked with them all, right?
Yeah.
So,
who
it was Kerry-Anne
out?
Back in the day. So then it was Kerry-Anne and Tim Webster.
Oh, Tim.
Then
wow.
Gibbo, Mike Gibson. And And then I've worked with all those other people. Then I went to Channel 9. And then I worked with all those as hosting Price is Right. So then you're in with all that crowd. And no, I think, some people like Bert Newton would be, my favorite person to be in the same room with. And I look at that and go, that's TV, that old school TV.
What did you do with Bert? Was it like just...
I was a guest on his show quite a few times and would do telethons and all that sort of thing.
Was it, okay, when you say the guest, would you talk about the Bert Newton show?
Yeah, the midday show.
The midday show,
the
right.
midday show.
Yeah, well, you did it for years, yeah. Cause, and I used to love watching Bert Newton, but a lot of people probably know who we're talking about, but I used to love watching Bert Newton with Don Lane.
Classic.
Legend.
And you can't do that stuff anymore, right?
No, you can't wouldn't get away with it. No. But Bert was extraordinarily funny. So, but did any of these people put placeholders in your mind as to how Larry Andrews should be as an individual, as a person?
Yeah, I believe so. And more importantly than that, I saw plenty of people that I'll go, I don't want to be like that.
Right. That's not my style.
That's not my style.
Is it good that you had a chance to choose your style?
Totally. And because I was that guy that I was telling you about on Good Morning Australia, so I got to interview all the celebrities, all the famous people who were coming through town, all the famous local celebs. And so I got to sit here like you're sitting in there and see them on the other side and go, I don't want to be like, Jesus, if I'm ever on that side of the camera, I don't want to be like that. So I was lucky in that regard as well, that I got to do this litmus test over and over again to sort of shape the sort of people that I admire in the business. So Bert Newton was one of them. Kerry Ann was fabulous as well. And you see, they're people who love TV. There's plenty of people in TV who don't love TV. It's like it's a job or it's your next contract or whatever. But these people, it was in their DNA. Rove, another great example, loves television.
What is it about TV you love? What is it?
Well, I don't know anything else is the thing. Well, now I'm finding out with this whiskey thing, right? But I don't know. I said in my Logie speech that I've never done it. I've never known anything else. I've never done anything else. And regardless of what's happening in my life, when the red light comes on, I love it.
Yeah, but
I love it.
But you've been there for a long time, particularly in the morning show like that you're doing now, like for 7. You've been there for a hell of a long time. How do you keep sort of trying to stay relevant for the show, and do you ever get bothered that you're no longer relevant? And how do you keep yourself engaged, because that engages the audience? How do you do those two things? Staying relevant,
yeah,
and keeping the audience engaged by you being engaged, energy wise.
Yeah, the relevance thing, I can't answer that, I suppose. The thing that interested me of late, and particularly in sort of putting the book together, and I worked this out.
What's the name of the book, by the way?
Happy As.
Happy As, good.
Happy As.
Love it.
And the thing that I worked out then is that the audience who are watching now, maybe there's a sector of them who I've grown up with. Like I was a kid.
Yeah.
And they would have been kids. And now we're all together. So there's a good TV demographic that probably come to the morning show. There's a wide demographic for the morning show, but certainly the morning show and the Chase would have a bunch of people who have been. I've been in their lounge room for 40 years, so the relevance is sort of self-sourcing for that demographic, at least, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And then the younger demographic, I don't know. I do stupid stuff on Instagram. Morning show, it's funny. I've taken my position on the morning show as the sort of. I don't really care about the Kardashians, and I don't really care about Dancing with the Stars, and I don't really care about this sort of stuff. But that works from a relevance perspective also, I find, because a lot of guys my age could do stuff about the Kardashians or the royals. So even if you're a wife watching the show whose husband is my age, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're going, well, of course Larry thinks the royals are silly because my husband would think, Jacko would think the same. So I think the relevance is... I've just played a pretty straight bat, and I think maybe people find that reasonable, just to be yourself and not trying to pretend that, oh yeah, I know everything about the Kardashians because the show says that I have to. I don't, and I don't care. And I think people see in our relationship with Kylie and myself, we hear this all the time, that people go, oh, Larry's just like my husband. He sits there, he nods, but he doesn't listen to anything and doesn't care about anything. So if people can see that relationship, then that's our relevance.
How much of that is the actual authentic Larry? I mean, is it?
No, all of it.
Yeah.
3 hours of live TV, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
You can't bullshit.
I defy anybody to sit on TV for 18 years now.
Yeah.
3 hours live and bullshit.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. You maybe get a pocket or two away, but there's no way you could. And I think when I came to it as well, I'd been doing The Price is Right for a long time, and you can't bullshit in that either. Like, all defenses down, you're rolling with it very quickly. You're interacting with people very quickly. You don't have time to put on a character. You can't.
Is it how produced is it? How produced was The Price is Right, and how produced is the morning show? Produced, what I mean by that is scripted.
No, Price is Right, no script.
Yep.
When I got to the morning show, the first time I'd ever used an auto cue in my life, and that's being kicked out of school. Remember, I was kicked out of school. I couldn't read or write. You know, there's serious.
Oh, really?
Serious issues for me.
Wow.
So Price is Right was perfect to me because I was a grown man playing games.
Yeah.
And everyone's laughing, everyone's having fun, and everyone's winning stupid prizes, and I was in my element. Like, is this my life? Is this a job? That was unreal. And then the morning show comes up, and I'm like, and we were told that to go for 3 or 6 months as a trial, and now I've got to read an auto cue, and reading was not my thing. So, you know, I suppose there was some early days of the morning show where maybe there was auto cue Larry, but that was me just being shit scared of the auto cue. It wasn't me trying to be anybody else. It was just me going, oh, I've got to read these words, which I feel more comfortable with now. Obviously.
But you can sort of ad-lib it anyway.
As much as I mean, and that's my favourite bit, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think people like that of the morning show. I think the most boring days that Kylie and I can have are when we go in there and we read the auto cue.
Yeah, so there's an event. So sometimes there might have been something has happened and it's all been auto cued up for you. You've got to read through it, that process, because people don't understand how television works. So you might look like you're talking to me on the television, but you actually got to auto cue, and it could be about some disaster.
That's right.
Which, by the way, has to be scripted because you don't want to stuff it up. And you got to do it correct. It could be about fires, it could be about floods, it could be about whatever, natural disasters. So it's auto cueing, like behind the camera, you're reading it. When you're doing that, how often do you feel as though you just want to? I just want to go off auto cue and I just want to say what I feel like saying.
I feel that all the time. Not with those heavier news stories, and that's different, right?
Yeah.
Breaking news, we need to get that as close to what's going on as we possibly can. So that's everyone in the newsroom and everyone in the control room working as a unit to try and get the information out effectively and efficiently, get that message
and accurately.
So rarely at that point would we stray. I mean, if we had to, sometimes it's like talk to the pictures. The Lindt Cafe siege, that just happened outside our window and no one knew it was going on. So it was Kylie and I just talking.
That's right. You're in the city then?
We're in the city, Martin Place. We were across
the road in the old Commonwealth Bank building.
It was right there. I could still see.
I remember it. I remember where the studios were. Yeah.
And we were first on air in the world because we were on TV, and I saw this guy outside because we had these huge windows onto Martin Place, in the Lindt Cafe, and this guy came up on a push bike. He literally jumped off the push bike and threw it away, and he was in shorts and t-shirt and pulled a gun out. I went, "What's going on there?" And then there was a bit of in our studio. Everyone's going, "Look!" There was just cops from everywhere, and then you looked at the Lindt siege. The Lindt Cafe, and you could see the faces up against the window. I can still see it clearly today. So in an instance like that, we're just talking to what we can see, and that tested all of our strengths and weaknesses. But that was obviously that was a one-off. But there have been news items where we just have to talk to pictures, and everyone's looking at the same picture to go, what's happening here? And that's where I'm a journalist back in the day. Kylie's a very well-trained journalist, and we get through those together. But certainly to your question, whenever I can not be on the auto cue, I'm off.
You're good at ad-libbing, you're good at having fun, and all that sort of stuff makes the audience feel comfortable. But what is it that actually really gets you excited? Is it breaking news? I mean, like I know someone like Carl, for example, on the other network. Carl actually is an investigative journalist. He loves doing this stuff.
Sure.
And you can see him get excited.
Sure.
He does play the funny guy, day to day, because he's just filling in time, and you've got to be like that. People don't want shit going on in their lounge room when they're watching this in the morning. They want to say that. But you can see Carl when he sees a juicy investigative story, he it's a new Carl comes out. What is it that turns you on about television?
I'd be the other side of that. I'd be the complete opposite end of that, where something crazy is happening in the studio. We're completely off piste. There's no script to recover. The producers are screaming, shut it down, and it's going completely off track. And I'd be more that'd be my moment. I know what you're saying with Carl, and and plenty of people in our network can do that also and love that stuff and are very, very good at that stuff. I'm never going to win a Walkley Award for journalism, clear as a bell.
Yeah.
But certainly the fun stuff, mate, where it's off track, the train's off the track, how we're going to get back on, ad-libbing and having as much fun, milking each moment for what it's worth.
So it sounds like you enjoy scrambling as such.
Totally.
Yeah, the scramble's on, and Larry Emdur's brain works best in that environment.
That's the fun stuff, mate. That's the fun stuff. And and you can't script that.
Yeah.
But you can look for opportunities in the script to make that happen or to take you down that path.
When you think about, Larry growing up, I presume your name's Lawrence, is it?
No, it's not.
Not, it's Larry's.
Larry,
born Larry.
Stupid name. I keep remind Mum every time I see it.
Yeah, because whenever I think of Larry, I keep thinking of the Three Stooges.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that's good.
But of course, that was around in those days too, by the way. Three Stooges was on telly.
Yeah.
Larry, Murray and Curly. It was one of my favourite shows, by the way. This shows you how I grew up. But when you think about Larry Emdur today, when you think about yourself, and you wrote your book, of course, and you go back to Larry as a kid, what were the influences on you that actually do you think stayed with you, that made you the guy who liked it when there's a scramble on and you got to survive through that? What do you think it was?
I don't know. Maybe it was watching those early TV shows, Blankety Blanks and Don Lane's show and all those things, just watching them. I remember, you remember the bloopers, right? You remember the funny things, and maybe that stuck with me. I don't know. My dad was the joker of the pack, he was always the funny guy.
In the household?
And his mates and the speeches at weddings and parties, and, he was always that funny guy. And I think I loved that part of him, and he was very well loved. Mum, of course, the same. But Dad particularly had a huge influence on my life.
Sounds like you come from a really good family.
Oh, great family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel very loving family.
I feel very, very lucky, and so supportive too. And Mum to this day, Dad's passed away now, but Mum to this day is still very much a part of my day to day. She'll comment on things on the morning show or on the chase. And
really?
Yeah, no, we were lucky. And I look back at that and go, that was lifestyle, right? That was Bondi. It was Bondi, and it was outdoors, and it was picnics every afternoon in summer, and it was going down the beach for swim as a family, and so we're lucky that we grew up like that.
It's a full Aussie.
It really is
a real Aussie story. It's a bit like you probably know Booney, Jason Boone.
Yeah,
when he was a Milky Bar kid, proper blonde hair, blue eye Aussie deal from Bronte. I think he's from Bronte or something like that. And he was actually the Milky Bar kid on the ads.
Right.
He had that blonde hair and blue eyes, surfer like yourself.
Yeah.
Like you actually represent real. I mean, I shouldn't say real. That's probably not fair to say today. But what was a quintessential Aussie back in the 70s growing up?
I think so. I mean, that's a
privilege. Not many people can say that today.
No. I had a wonderful upbringing. We'd sleep on the beach. We had a Chico roll for breakfast.
Chico roll, my God.
We'd go to Bates Milk Bar and get the pineapple juice at the front door. And I feel very privileged. We weren't privileged. We were blue collar, as you said. There was not a lot of money around, but I feel very lucky that was my life, and that had such a big influence on who I am today.
And where do you live today?
We're in Darling Point now.
You're in Darling Point, yeah.
So we moved up the road to Dover Heights when the family came along.
That's money. That would have been, well, actually, no, Dover Heights wasn't considered all that big a deal then.
No.
It is now.
It is now.
But not.
And then we moved to the city, and then we've sort of dragging my wife back to the east slowly.
And your wife, tell me the story about your wife.
So Sylvie was a flight attendant, and I was going down from Sydney to Melbourne to host a show called the Steve Vizard, the Tonight Live with Steve Vizard.
One of the funniest guys on television.
Yeah, and I was filling in for him every now and again. And I was flying down on Qantas, and there was a huge storm. The Qantas flight was cancelled, so I raced across to Ansett, soaking wet. I had hair then, soaking wet, jacket, jeans. I was just wet, and I got onto the Ansett flight, sat down, and Sylvie came out of the galley. I feel like it was in slow motion. I still think of it today as like, I think she came out in slow motion. And I was soaking wet. She just came out and went, "You look terrible." And I'm like, and she's beautiful. And I remember thinking, she's flirting with me. I said, "Are you flirting with me?" She goes, "No, I just wanted to tell you look terrible." I'm like, okay, this is good here. We're on here. That's where we met.
And your children?
Children. So Jai is 31. He was in real estate for a long time, and he's in asset finance now and having a good go at that. And then our daughter, 26, Tia, she's married and she's a graphic designer. She's doing a lot of work with us with the Ben Buckler, and we're dragging them along. It's great. And they're all very supportive.
Did your dad get to see all your kids grow up?
No. No. He got to see. Oh no. Well, he's 15 years ago. He's passed away.
And what did he die from?
He was a very, very heavy smoker. Not getting around it. You want to sugarcoat it, don't you? But he was a very, very heavy smoker all of his life. And it was in the end, it was sort of emphysema and a whole bunch of related issues. But to his credit, he couldn't do much towards the end. But he was a great storyteller and he was a writer, as it turned out. No one knew. And he got together with a magazine called LungNet, which is a magazine that goes out to people with breathing problems and emphysema. And he started to write a column called The Lighter Side, which was because he had all these great stories about how he'd go out on his little buggy and do wheelies and chase pretty girls up and down the beach. And
When he had the emphysema?
Yeah. He'd put his oxygen thing on and go out with his buggy and go and get fish and chips. And he still wanted to live the beach life. He still lived at Bondi. I said, Dad, you should write these stories. They're great stories, because I was the journalist. So these are great stories. So he started to write them and send them into this magazine called LungNet, called The Lighter Side with David Emdur, and they'd print them. And they got such a huge response to them because you're only reading that magazine for the latest research on, lung conditions and deals on breathing equipment stuff. So all of a sudden now there's this column about funny stuff that happens to you when you got this.
The lighter side of life.
Yeah. And I thought that was a great legacy from him. That was a great legacy from him to me, to go, even when you're feeling like that and you are dying, to be able to lighten people's day, to be able to tell nice stories and make people smile. I thought that was really, really important message.
And this whole conversation, Larry, for me anyway, has been about you telling stories. You've just told like a whole series of mini stories. And given that your dad was a good storyteller, maybe that's the deal.
Maybe.
Because if you grow up watching someone tell stories, you don't even really know they're telling stories. I mean, you can't articulate it, but it's in your DNA, it's in your brain.
Yeah.
Because every time you interview somebody, you're telling a little story, or you're getting them to tell a little story.
That's right.
On television.
Yeah.
And that's why people watch it, because we're looking for those little vignettes, those little stories about things. Yeah. And that sort of brings me to the whiskey, because there's a story, for me anyway, for when someone like you or I produce a whiskey or a drink like this, there's a story in it. And we won't talk about mine, but what's the story about why you produce it, Ben Buckler?
So I was turning 60. This is last year. I was turning 60 and I thought I'm getting old now, so I've got to make an old man's drink for my friends. So I wanted to make 60 bottles for 60 mates for my 60th birthday. And I got together with the guys in Corowa, and they're amazing distillers. And we made this bottle to my taste profile. I kept flying down back and forth and got it to exactly. I didn't want a big, strong, peaty whiskey. I'm not even much of a whiskey drinker, to be honest. More of a bourbon guy. But I thought I need an old man's drink now because I'm old. So it was a bit of fun. It was a fun project for my mates. Made this whiskey. It tasted unbelievable. Down in Corowa, it's a tourist attraction. So they have busloads of people coming through every weekend to taste all their whiskies. We got it in the bottle, and the owner, Dean, said, it's fantastic, can we put it on our tasting table for people to see what they think? So over the course of the next month, hundreds and hundreds of people tasted it. No name, nothing to do with me.
Just like a blind tasting.
Just blind tasting. And hundreds of people tasting it, because we get busloads every weekend. 95% of people wanted to buy it. And he said, mate, we've never had that response to anything we've done. Can we send it off to San Francisco? Sent it to San Francisco, to the most important spirits competition in the world, and we won a gold.
Wow.
So I've put that on my Instagram, and remember, it was 60 bottles. I put that on my Instagram. It's just got, boom. The next day, my DMs, bars, restaurants, whiskey experts. Everyone wanted to know where can we get it? I got a couple of 100,000 followers of that, a large percentage, but where can we get it? Where can we get it? So we went into production. We've since won another gold medal at the Asia Spirits Competition, and a few weeks ago at the New York Spirits Competition. So we're now 3 international gold medals.
Maybe you could describe this whiskey though. Like, tell us what we're looking for here. Like, it's
so it's okay.
Where's the price range for a start?
So it's probably pretty similar to what you're doing.
About $80 or something.
About $80. Yep. But what I wanted it to be, Mark, and this was so important to me, I wanted it to be my personality as well. So I wanted it to be approachable, easy, fun. I didn't want it to be a serious whiskey you're having. I don't know what yours is representing, but I didn't want it to be an old guy late at night in his office on his own. It's not that.
Yeah.
It's like you come out of the surf, you're having a barbecue, you can have a whiskey and ginger. You have it's real cocktail forward, this, like it's unreal in cocktails. And I'm not shy of that. If you said to the guys at Sullivan's Cove or at Lark, which are the two best
big
whiskies in
names.
the world,
Yeah.
they would die if you said put this in a cocktail. But we've come up with some amazing cocktails. So this is it's a summer coastal proposition.
That's you.
It's personality. It's fun. It's light. It's not peaty and too smoky. You're not chewing it. It's very light and bright. So I love the flavors in it. So it was done in bourbon barrels and X20 port barrels. People are finding creamy almond flavors in there, burnt marshmallow. It's got sort of campfire vibes to it as well. Someone said they tasted it and they got Allen's banana lollies in there. So I'm loving it. People are having fun with it, and it's a good entry into whiskey drinking.
So how important is it? Because like we have this view, but like at our business, but for me, whiskey is a conversation piece. Like I just think we don't have enough conversations.
Yeah.
And you can't sort of rip into a whiskey like you can a beer or something like that. So it sort of makes you sit for a bit.
Yeah.
And talk.
Absolutely.
Talk to someone.
Yeah.
Or a group.
No, I agree.
And let's all have a drink.
I agree.
And I've changed my view on whiskey. It's not like you said, it sort of has a sort of stodgy old cigar thing, whiskey room and old sort of dudes standing there with like all stitched up and everything like that. For me, whiskey is more fun and conversations.
Yeah. And it's such a good point. And I'm sitting down with my mates who I've sat down with for 45 years for pizza nights with whiskey now. And it is different.
Yeah.
It's completely different conversations.
Yeah.
And we've been saying the same shit for 50 years. And now it's different. You're exactly right. It's a very good point.
And how's it been going, like in terms of selling?
Really good, really good. So we're going, the plan next year is to go to an investment round. So I've been bootstrapping it for 2 years now. We've done, it's hard to measure, but because of what I do, we're lucky, right? We've got platforms, we've got audiences. So if we were to monetize that, if we were to work out what I've put into that and the exposure that it's got all my celeb mates, all my influencer friends have held it up at various times, and we'd like to thank you. So it's had millions of dollars of exposure because of my friends and people who support it, but the response has been also amazing, right?
That's a good drop too.
It's a great whiskey.
Yeah.
So we'll go to I now need people around me who know what to do next.
Business people,
because I'm the TV guy.
Yeah,
right? I'm the high school dropout. I've done what I can. I've put 40 years of brand.
Done pretty good at it, but go on.
I'll put 40 years of brand equity into it.
Yep,
and that's made. It's probably one of the noisiest. It's probably the noisiest whiskey in Australia right now.
Yeah, very noisy. Because it's got you.
Right.
And your platforms.
And I feel very grateful that I can put all that brand equity and go, look at this thing. But I've got people stopping me in the street now. Where can I get it? People DMing me every day. So my name is now associated with Ben Buckler and vice versa. So we've given it a really, really good head start.
Yeah,
but now I need people who go, I know what to do with a business and how to build a business. And it's exciting. And there's some really good people around.
So you're going to raise some money?
Raise some money. There's some really good interest from the investment market because people can see that they want noise, right?
Yep.
You know what an investor wants.
Yep.
An investor wants, how's it going to jump off the shelves? How will people know that it exists? And we're miles ahead, fortunately. So from an investment perspective, we're looking pretty good. And that will bring in
2026?
2026, early.
So you raise some money in 2026. With the money you raise, you're not taking it out, you're putting it in. You're going to actually, make a whole lot more, maybe buy a factory or buy a warehouse or something.
Yeah, we're not sure on that, how that fits yet.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of distilleries around, right? I don't think I want to be a distillery owner necessarily. Yeah. I'm enjoying the brand perspective of it. I'm enjoying but
it's your drop though. It doesn't matter. You're not making it, but it's your flavor profile.
Correct. So, and we need another SKU. So do you. The whiskey world wants you to go a bit stronger, a bit peaty, a bit of this and a bit of that. And we will do that, of course, with time. But this needs, what needs to happen now is, and they're around, like I've got these great sort of advisory board, great business people who are really interested in how much noise this is making, how much traction we're getting with nothing. So it'll be really interesting to see this next phase.
How involved are you in
Mate, everything. I've got a ute downstairs full. I'll go and do deliveries now till 7 o'clock tonight.
Good on you.
And the reason I do that, and that's of course not scalable, but in this first instance,
no, but you got to do it in the beginning.
I like to do it because I walk into a bottle shop with a case of whiskey, and the guy's like, what the fuck? It's Larry Emdur here with the coach. I believe in building those bridges and that hand-to-hand combat, and it's working really well for us.
You enjoying that?
I love it, Mark.
Yeah.
I've been talking about TV for 40 years.
Yeah.
I've never had a conversation that didn't involve TV. Now I'm talking about whiskey.
It's right on the street too. Like it's real street stuff. Like you're hustling on the street.
Love it.
But it's no different to Larry Emdur, who actually turned up at the Wayside Chapel. To hustling to get into, the Christmas Eve show with Ricky. For me anyway, Ricky May. Like it's the same deal. Like I don't know. I as a business person myself, I mean, I think that stuff is so exciting, so much fun, and you learn a hell of a lot. You know, it's funny. We're in a place called Bar Tilda, which is a whiskey bar in the Sofitel Hotel in the city. Made my office next door. Once a week, I go into that bar. Our whiskey's in there, our premium whiskey's in there, not that one. And I look, there's a cabinet with all the whiskey bottles in there. And mine's on the top shelf because I put it up there physically. It was on before, and now what I do is actually, this sounds ridiculous. People say, what the fuck's wrong with you? What are you doing? But I actually go and put my whiskey, when people buy coffee there in the morning, because there's a cafe in the morning, I actually reposition, they're now going to know, but I reposition my whiskey at the top, right in the middle, and I put all the other bottles are on the side on, so you can't really see the brand, and I put mine front on so you can see it completely. And I do it every week. I go and see if they've moved it. And I go and see how much whiskey's been drunk to see whether or not I need to get another bottle in there for them.
Interesting.
And so that...
Next time you're there, will you move mine as well? I want to be next to yours.
Are you up there?
Yeah, we'll be in there.
You're in okay, well, I'm going to put yours at the back. No, I'm not.
That's right. Chuck it in the bin.
No, I'll say, I'll buy that bottle there and I'll just get it out. No, but that sort of thing that's fun.
Yeah.
I love that hustle.
I do. I'm really enjoying it.
It really gets me up in the morning.
Yeah. And because now with social media, right, there's so much activity on social media. So I'll post something about this on social media, about an event. We're doing plenty of events, lots of activations. I'm hands-on at every level. I was out the other day out at Parramatta looking at boxes. We're doing gift boxes for mini bars in hotels. So I'm doing...
Are you making the small bottles?
Yeah, we've got them.
Like got them to put into the minibar. Yeah,
got the 50s and the 200s.
Like Lark did that. I mean, years ago. Yeah. Are you using anyone as a model? Like any other business as a model for you?
No, because I want to change the model. I want to change, and you should too. I want to change the way people think about whiskey.
Yeah,
and it's not $250. Yeah. I'll have a sip when my dad died. This is for when Grandpa dies. Yeah. It's not that much.
Yeah. That's why we've come up with the $83 bottle, because like. We found we have the expensive one, but like it's sort of too elitist.
Yeah,
like,
and we both want to be. I mean, you know more business stuff than I do, but you want to be where people are.
Yeah.
And I want to be. I'm that TV guy, and people know me there, and I want to be accessible to. I don't want to be when we started to get the medals with that. There was a sense that we can put this bottle up to 150, 160. I'm like, no way. We're going down. I want to be accessible. I want people who can relate to me and have been on my TV journey and been part of my story to be able to go and pick that up without going, I'm not going to pay that. I'm going to pay $180 for it. So you and I want to be in the value pool, right?
That's where the numbers. And that's my people. You know, that sounds really trite, but you know, I don't live in that upper echelon. A lot of people might think I do, but I don't. I actually live in that normal person territory.
Yeah.
I mean, I drive Toyota. Like, I'm happy in that territory. I feel more comfortable there.
Yeah.
By the way, I have been down that other track, you know, driving trick cars and all that sort of stuff, but I'm much more comfortable in your territory. Yeah. Where you are pitching your whiskey. And I feel
that's
so much
my
better.
audience. You know, they're the people who'll stop me in the street every day or yell out, "Come on down," across the road.
But are they your people too? Like, apart from your audience, you know your audience, but is that Larry Emdur too? Like, that's where you sit.
I think so.
Yeah.
Much more. I think so. Yeah. We did a huge activation out at Bankstown Sports Club.
And that's a big sports club. That's great there. How good is it?
Fantastic. And they did a thing where I was part of a presentation for them, but they've put it on the whiskey in all the bars and all the restaurants, which is great. But I spent hours and hours out there and talking to people, and everyone wants to talk about it. Yeah. But mate, I love that's what I do. It's I've never done anything different. So for me to be in a group of people who watch TV and want to talk about TV and joke about, yell out, "Come on down," and all that, like, man, I love that.
Yeah, but it's just on that. Do you ever? Maybe you can explain to people what it's like being as well known as you are. What it's like, and not everyone could deal with it the same way. But how you are always prepared to be friendly towards people. Because sometimes it gets in your head a little bit, thinking, oh, fuck, I just need a little bit of a break from this. I really don't feel like it a conversation. I don't want a photo. what does Larry Emdur do in those situations?
I've never said no to a photo ever.
But what about if you don't feel like having one, but you don't say no? What is the feeling?
My mindset, if I'm out and people want to talk to me about it, they're the people who are watching, and that's the audience, and the audience are the ratings, and the ratings are the show. And I've always been grateful for that. And people have always been nice to me too, by the way. And that's because of what they see on TV as a relatively reasonable character. You know,
benign.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So not threatening, not a nasty judge, I used to walk through the airport, travel a bit with the Hey Hate Saturday guys and Red Simons, because he was the nasty judge on Hey Hate Saturday. People would have nasty things to say about him, or Darren Hinch, nasty things. But I walk through the airport and people just want to talk about the show or something like that. And I've never known any different. I seriously haven't. I get asked that question a lot. How do you handle that? And there are times, sure, 4:00 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning at the airport for the 6:00 flight. I don't want to do the whole big thing, but I've never said no to anyone.
So the last question for you, because I find this quite an interesting one. Like, I'm a late entrant into the the broadcasting game, mostly through my podcast. But I saw Lawsy passed away recently, the last couple of weeks, which is a sad thing. But do you see Larry Emdur's pushing on and as a broadcaster, journalist, right through to the end?
It's a really interesting question because I'm 60. I don't know when this is going to. I'm 61 next week.
Yeah.
Mark, it's really interesting, and I don't know. And I think if I was to go draw on all my experience in TV, it's not going to be my choice. I know that for sure because it never is in this business.
But if you're good enough,
I just don't know. I'm the oldest guy on the show in TV now. It used to be Koshi. Koshi's gone now. It's me.
Yeah.
Me and Alf Stewart on Home and Away. I'm the oldest guy.
Wow, really?
Yeah. So, and I don't feel old. I feel great.
Yeah.
And I love my work. And I think I've got a whole bunch of mates retiring now. They're like, cannot wait to get out of this job I've been doing for 45 years. And the lawyer and the dentist and the greenkeeper cannot wait to finish up. But I love my job.
You don't feel that way though, do you?
I love it. And I honestly struggle to know how I would feel if I wasn't getting up every day and going on TV. I do mean that from the bottom of my heart. That said, whiskey's a heap of fun, but it's not TV, right? It's not when the red light comes on.
So what is it about that you do every single day at 60, nearly 61? What is it that drives you? I mean, what is the thing that
I think I miss it. I miss it when I'm not doing it. I can't answer the question, but I can tell you I miss it when I'm not doing it, and I'm in love with it. I love being in the TV studio. I love doing the show. I love working with Kylie. I love doing the chase. Like, they're all great challenges. I feel like I feel very comfortable doing them, and it still excites me today. Morning show, it's different people every day, all day.
Yeah.
So I should know it's on the show tomorrow, but I don't. But it'll be exciting, and there'll be one break, there'll be an interview with someone, and then they're gone, and then the next person, and then it's fun. It's super fun.
Just on there, because Hadley used to do, when Hadley came in, he explained how his 9 a.m. show started, but he would get in at 4:30 a.m. What time do you have to get in?
Yeah, I don't do that, and I think that probably upsets not only my co-host but the producers. But I need to be in there at like 20 past 8.
Yep.
Because we're on Sunrise at 8:30.
Yep.
For a promo.
Yep.
Hair and makeup's pretty quick now, hair particularly, and then I don't have to be there that early at all.
Is that because you're so experienced?
Maybe.
Whatever they throw in front of you, pretty much can roll with it.
Nothing really rattles. And I have to talk with Kylie as well. Like, no, between us, there's nothing that we can't handle. And that we're 18 years now sitting next to each other.
Wow, 18 years.
18 years, number one for 18 years. Not many other shows I don't think any other shows can say that. We've won every ratings block since we started 18 years ago.
Well, and I need to congratulate on your Logie Award last year. Was it last year? Was it? Yeah. Because I remember texting you and saying, "Well done."
Yes.
How was that?
That was That was unbelievable for me. And I never thought, because I've been in the business for so long, I never thought I was at peace with the fact that I'm not a Logie's guy. You know what I mean? I'd given up on that concept. So for that to come around and then to win the gold and the silver with Bert Newton's name on it, and Bert was such a hero of mine, mate, it was very, very special. But how funny is this? Maybe this is my business coming out now. Like, as soon as I was nominated for the Gold Logie, because I'm at that age where I'm not going to get another show from it. I'm not going to get more money from it. So what does the Gold Logie mean? Great branding for the whiskey.
Yeah.
So I remember thinking when I got nominated, I thought, this is going to be a great campaign for the whiskey. And it was, because every radio show I went on, for the Logies campaign, because I was posting a lot about that. Everyone was talking about the whiskey. So 60 radio stations around Australia, I was doing interviews, but I was talking about the whiskey. So it actually worked huge favours for this.
So it seems to me, though, I mean, I'm going to finish off this, Larry, but it seems to me, though, I'm still talking just a more mature version, but I'm still talking to young Larry when he's 19, 20. Like, whilst you probably didn't recognise yourself as being a hustling then, and I don't mean in a bad way,
No.
but you are still hustling. And that's, for me, something like that gives me energy. Still hustling is important.
Yeah.
Every opportunity you get, you're going to sell this.
Yes, yeah.
Without being sort of sinister about it. So every opportunity. I know I get a buzz out of talking about my stuff all the time. So, and it's not big dollars or whatever, but it's just the fun of the hustle.
Yes.
And most people don't understand how important that is to be successful. The fun of the hustle, as opposed to getting really serious about it. It's the fun of the hustle, and you're still doing what you're doing 40 years ago.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you ever think that about yourself?
I'm surprised as all my mates start to talk about retirement. I'm the guy they're going, I don't want to not do this.
Yeah.
I don't want. I mean, it'd be nice to travel. Sylvia and I will go and do some beautiful trips in the coming years, but I don't want to not go and do TV every day. I mean, that will happen, obviously, but I'm enjoying putting a lot of energy into this thing now. And I know next year with investment and all those other new opportunities and the advisory board, I know it's going to blow up times 100. So next year is even going to be more exciting.
Well, mate, thanks for an awesome interview, and I'm so happy that Ben Buckler is one of my favourite places because I have great memories. I mean, I didn't grow up there, but I moved there when I was 17, and I have great memories of my kids in North Bondi Surf Club.
Yep.
At Ben Buckler, being told to go out the, where the rip is there on the side, there next to the pool. That was the trick way to get out to the boys and back.
Yeah.
And an old surf club guy taught my kids how to do that. And Ben Buckler has great memories for me. I got married at the Orchidees at Ben Buckler.
Yes.
And it's fantastic that I got to have this chat to you. You and I, by the way, Larry and I have been talking about this whiskey for about at least a year or so.
Yeah.
And threatening to get back on get him on the show and talk about it. So here he is in the flesh. He's a legend. A great TV guy, and from my point of view, a great Aussie icon.
Thank you,
Larry Emdur. Thanks,
Cheers.
Mate.
Thank you.